Alright, this is game 4 here, I believe, and we are continuing along with non-exemplary games from me here. And I think actually what my opponent did in this game was a lot cleaner and a lot nicer and more suited for the board. So we'll talk about a bit of contrast. So looking at the board, this black market is quite a few things in the black market. King's Court, of course. Butcher is there. Early Rats could be decent. Of note, the only villages in the black market are the King's Court, of course, the Shantytown, and the Festival. So those are going to be huge given that there's no source of plus action on the board outside of Molly. So draw is an advisor. Looking at the board without black market cards, draw is an advisor, and there's some knights, but the knights can be defended with the lighthouse, so you could not have to worry about the knights as much. So 5 for my opponent. I thought they would have gone for Dame Anna, honestly, because it trashes. I'm sure there's Forager there to trash as well. I would have picked up Dame Anna or Rebuild. So I think Rebuild is fine and viable on the board. Yeah, a couple lighthouses if they go after knights, but I think Rebuild can prosper and do well here, but I don't like to play with Rebuild. In fact, I like to play against Rebuild, so that's why I was looking for something not Rebuild. Right, so the surprising thing to me, my opponent opened with a Forager and a Lighthouse on the 5. Like I said, I would have gone for Anna, and is what I end up doing here. I go for Anna solely for the trashing purposes. If it hits something, it hits something out of my opponent's deck, that is, but it trashes 2 cards. Forager trashes 1, I could get thinner faster with Anna. So I go for the Forager in the black market. My opponent does not have a black market yet. They pick up a lighthouse. If I could fish one of these villages out of the black market early, that would be excellent. So here, 5, I could go for the rats, but I think I much prefer the butcher, to be honest. Even though, and I know I checked this before I bought it, I have a lot of terminals. This would be my 3rd, I believe. I have black market, Anna, butcher. So that's 3 terminals already and no villages whatsoever. So already I'm making some, ill-advised or not frequently advised ways to play the game. In the meantime, my opponent has a pair of lighthouses, a pair of foragers, and now picks up an advisor. So going for something much simpler and much cleaner, and turns out to be better. So here I trash a bit with Anna, don't get to hit anything, just gonna pick up a lighthouse. A little bit of economy, a little bit of defense against the knights should they go for it, although my opponent has to pick up Martin if they want to go for the knights. So here I choose to play the black market over the other 3 terminals. Of course, Anna doesn't do much as I try to attack. I could have butchered Anna there into advisor maybe, but I wanted to keep Anna around until a bit more coppers and whatnot are gone. So just gonna pick up a silver for a bit more money and try to spread out my terminals with the silver is why. Can't even buy an advisor. Now I do pick up an advisor, because like I said, the only draw on the board, right? So here I think I'm gonna play the black market, and the last black market was the big thing, right? My opponent fished out, not my opponent, I fished out the King's Court and the festival, but I didn't have money to even buy the festival, which is terrible. If I had picked up that festival that early in the game, things would have been different. As is, my opponent is able to get a hunting party. Here on the 6th, I'm going to go for Caravan and the 2nd lighthouse, right, just for complete coverage. Oh, not the 2nd lighthouse, the cellar instead, sorry. The cellar works well with the advisors, actually. So no need for a 2nd lighthouse yet because my opponent is not pursuing the knights as heavily. So no reason to pick that up really. Much rather have the cellar in my deck. My opponent has fished out the hunting party from the black markets and is well on their way now. They have a bit of extra draw through the hunting party, more advisors than I do. Now they have the black market, so they could frequently dip into the black market. So chances are they'll get more of the nice things than me at this point in the game. However, they lack a bit of money. And this was again another surprising play to me here. They went for the potion. The only things in the black market are vineyard and possession. I thought it was a little bit too early to start going for that potion to find the possession. I mean, I understand we haven't seen it yet and it is coming up, but 6 potion is a lot of money. And my opponent only had 4 last turn, so I don't know if they could hit 6 potion. In addition, you have to reveal that on your black market, right? So if I interject with my black market, you have to wait for another, what's 4 or 5 plays of black market before you see that possession again. So I was a bit surprised by the potion for the possession, I presume. I presume they didn't want the vineyard right away. But regardless, like I said, my opponent has the better deck and is able to fish the Shantytown out here, which is very good for them. Could get the vineyard, but you would much rather have the Shantytown at this point in the game. The plus actions is vital, absolutely vital, not just for like playing more black markets, for instance, but also for playing things from the black market itself. Like the black market cards, right? There might be some terminal in there that you want to be like the butcher, my butcher, for example. I am going to get rid of the black market here. Just going to trash with Anna. I am way behind in development. I have a counterfeit from the black market, which is excellent. So just going to use Anna here to trash 1 card. By this point, my opponent has constant defense with the lighthouse, so Anna is, next to useless at this point. If I get a chance now, I think I will chop Anna down with the butcher. Probably into an advisor or something. So, right, as I mentioned earlier on, I think rebuild is perfectly viable here. Even with the black market around, I mean, you could open something like, I don't know, black market silver if you have 3-4 and then go into rebuilds. On an offhand, you buy a seller, or maybe off a black market buy, you could pick up seller and something from the black market. It's good. Seller with the rebuild is decent. You get lots of sellers and just cycle through to your lighthouse or your rebuild, of course. Not have to worry about the knights. So definitely, I think rebuild is a way to go here. Absolutely, even in light of the black market. Like, I mean, possession you have to worry about, but how you get in possession is so difficult to get there. You have to fish out the possession. You have to fish out so many things from the black market. I think rebuild is just way faster. So in summary, I don't think any of us played the best strategy on the board. We definitely played something more interesting, but in terms of what was best, I think the rebuilding is best on the board, just because black market is a bit slow. So here I have a bit of a better turn here, and unfortunately I don't find the butcher with Dame Anna, so instead just going to use it for forager food. Here I buy a rat from the black market. That is probably a bad decision. I should have just saved the money and gone for an advisor instead. As is, I have rats and silver in my deck. I have very few junk cards in my deck. I thought I had more at the time, which is why I went for the rats, but I had the forager and the butcher. I was safe for trashing. I shouldn't have picked up the rats there, so not a good pickup from me from the black market. I don't think any of those cards would have been helpful to me. Should have just gone for the advisor and a silver, for example. So, however, I was able to turn over the possession, so my opponent couldn't get the possession. And even on this turn, they have 5 potion. Even if they had flipped the possession up, they wouldn't be able to get the possession. They are able to get the festival, so now I'm just very nearly locked out, right? I have to hope to come back around to the King's Court, but I don't think that'll happen. I honestly don't think that'll happen, and I am just going to try to truncate the game at this point. My opponent has more advisors than me. They have both the festival, both the villages. They have the bridge troll now. They have the hunting party. They have a better deck than I do. And my play at this point in the game is to try to make this game end as quickly as possible and hopefully squeak out with a points lead here. So here my opponent is going to pick up the duplicate of the black market. Absolutely no reason not to do that. You could draw it immediately nearly and set it aside. And in fact, I think they make use of it right here. Uh, Empty the advisor pile. If not this turn, is the next turn. So yeah, so it is the next turn. Advisor and black market for my opponent. So definitely they need that black market if they're looking for that possession. I'm going to chop this rats into an advisor. If I had just bought the advisor in the first place, I'd have been much better off. But nah, poor deck tracking caused that. And now these advisor decisions are not really too difficult because my opponent could probably draw everything anyway. So the turns start to become a bit longer here, especially as my opponent has to, think for a bit about what to use Seller on, when to play their villages and whatnot. There's quite a bit of cards in their hand, right? So just a few long turns here. You could skip past it if you like. There's not too many interesting things going on, like bridge troll, black market. None of these things are useful at all for him. 7, and this is where they empty the advisor pile. Actually, don't even make use of the duplicate. Just straight buy out the advisors. So I only have what, 3 of the advisors, I believe, 4 at most. So they have 6 plus the hunting party. I mean, I have the caravan, but they have the hunting party. And the key thing is the villages, of course. The key thing is the villages. I fortunately have the butcher, so at least they don't have the butcher, which is good for me. Good news, good news. So here I am going to forage the copper here, play the black market. None of these things are quite attractive. Maybe the Mandarin might be useful, but terminal problems again, right? I can't afford to pick up that Mandarin and make any use of it. So I am just going to pick up a province here. I get rid of this silver with the counterfeit because I don't really need the money at this point. I just need like 2 or 3 provinces and going to chop them with the butcher, hopefully. So here I push 1 coin token to get province and rebuild. The idea with the rebuild, I know I crossed over to the dark side by picking up the rebuild, but is to help truncate the game, right? Rebuild, name duchy, find province, skip province, not skip province, find province, trash province, and the province. So if potentially I can mill 2 provinces on my turn, 1 through the rebuild, 1 through the butcher, and then buy another one. So that would be 3 provinces out from the stack. Yeah, maybe it could work out that way. And of course, I have to watch for the possession, right? Because my opponent is able to get the possession and they can play my rebuild as what happens here. My opponent, it does manage to find the possession. So if they could play my rebuild, then they could get provinces for free. Just rebuild and name whatever. Not province, of course, anything but province, and then get a province for free. So they do find the possession of the second black market, or it might be the third black market, and they're able to play it right away. And the possessed advisor is not a pleasant thing at all. The opponent just has so much liberty, so much control. So here, not using the rebuild, but instead using the butcher, spending all my coin tokens and picking up a province. So that's 1 province for them and 2 for me. So I'm gonna grind this province out. Maybe I should have played the rebuild first because I had the seller in hand, so I was guaranteed to be able to discard the province and have rebuild find it again. Anyways, that is not the play what I made, which is probably a bit suboptimal. I am able to mill 2 provinces though. I'm going to pick up 2 lighthouses here, trying to just run down a pile, just somehow try to truncate the game, right? I have to, I don't know, do something. Doesn't do much to empty the lighthouse pile because even if that runs, there's just 2 piles empty, and I guess the next pile to target would be the sellers. It'll just take a very long time, so. But you have to do something. Like, what else was I buying on for? I spend all the coin tokens to avoid my opponent having access to them, of course. Unfortunately, I don't think they are able to get to possession here. So had I kept my coin tokens, I'd have been able to use them this turn. But I mean, how was I supposed to know that? And here, this is, yeah, the final nail in the coffin here. My opponent is going to pick up the King's Court. And that's it. That's all the villages gone. My opponent has all of them. All of the control as well. So, picking up a duchy at this point and duplicating it. A bit strange, I think. It's not so strange. Like, best case scenario for me, I'm able to rebuild province into province, butcher a province into province, and then buy a province. So I guess it's okay, but if I'm doing that, then he's losing anyway, right? Because the two duchies doesn't save him from that scenario. So I am able to rebuild one, but I'm not going to be able to find my butcher. My butcher is lost due to my opponent's advice. So that happens. Black market here for no real reason, just for the money, and going to pick up the penultimate province and an estate here. If somehow my opponent has a million terminals or something, or like the two duchies and a king's court and black markets and I don't know, some other junk card that would prevent them from drawing. But none of these things happen, of course, and the seller comes out, and that effectively spells the end of the game here, because my opponent will find enough money to pick up the last province and presumably enough for a duchy or something. And in fact, what happens is that they go in the black market and they're able to find a gardens, which is worth 3 points for them. So they're able to find the gardens and still pick up enough money for the last province. So that's the end of game 3. My opponent played a much simpler, much cleaner thing than I did, going for this plain advisor staff with black market and then see what you have from there. I tried to do like a million things at once, pick up Anna, try to angle in for the knights play, angle in for the black market, pick up the butcher, angle for trashing, and I didn't have enough villages to support that. So well played by my opponent, and that is game 3. Thanks for watching and see you in the next game.